my name on the mic and I cut through the light. Hey, beat me up, Coley. Don't leave me on the ground like that. Beat me up, slowly. Then tell me when the bass hits back. We're new there. I rise through the air. Together in the dark, we align like a code. Beat me up, let the whole world know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, also known as Coley UFO, and I just want to thank everybody for being here today. It's definitely been a long, emotional journey, especially, we got Corey Goode and Mike Bara backstage. But before we go into that, I just wanted to say hello and welcome to everybody. So Skywatch, it's nice to see you in here. I have to go. The chat's moving so fast, which is actually wonderful. We already have a very good crew in here, but definitely, appreciate all the support from everybody. Valdo, great to see you. 315 Storm, it's absolutely a pleasure to see you. And we got, let's see here. I'm going to try and do this really quickly. Pops is backstage. Absolutely awesome. Skywatch Signal. Great to see you. We got Lunar Sun. Awesome. Moon at Noon. Great to see you. And thank you so much for that. We appreciate everybody who subscribed, and who are following. So this is awesome. We got Jonathan. Nice to see you. Moon at Noon, I said already, but yeah, we have, let's see here. We're going to try, and if you have, hi, Walter, if you guys have a wrench, please use it. If you see anything come in, we're just zero tolerance right now. So Bow Girl, great to see you. Fairly Girl, awesome. I'm so glad that you're here. Bow Girl, hey, I will get you that wrench too. I don't know, Pops, if you can get her a wrench, but that she's with Corey. So yes. And we have Gustovo. Great to see you. Like I said, I could go through and it's definitely going fast. So I will catch you in comments if I haven't got you. Area 51. Awesome. Glad you're here. And we got the trooper in the house, AZOAZ. And yeah, TJ, great to have you. You got John Allen. We got James Gillian is in here. James, hey, that's awesome. So glad to see you and thank you. So with that being said, without further ado, if you don't know either one of these guys, I'm going to let them bring them out themselves and give their own introductions because they're very good at it. And that way I can keep doing this in the background and we can keep getting this rolling. So we're trying, if you haven't already, please share this out. This is for David. I mean, he did not, the cyberbullying that goes on in this community definitely needs to stop. It's gone too far. And I think we can all agree upon that. If we can't, then obviously the show's not for you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Corey out and there we go. Welcome, Corey. And then I'll bring Mike Bara out and welcome. So I'll let you guys, since you're pros at this, kind of give your own introductions and then I will work on getting this media stuff set too. So welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Coley. Thanks for having me on. And this whole situation has just gotten under my skin, and a lot of shitty people have done a lot of shitty things, and they're trying to, shitty things, if not illegal things. And that remains to be seen by, a proper police investigation, which is what we all want. And, a lot of people are blaming others, like Corey, for instance, for what happened. And they are far more, they would appear to me to be far more to blame for what happened than he is. And so it's just trying to shift blame, from what they did onto somebody else. And that's not okay. So, it just really got under my skin from the very beginning. And if these people had just shut their fucking mouths, we wouldn't have this problem. And they wouldn't have the embarrassment that they're going to have as more and more comes out. So that's why I'm here.
Well said. And you're right. They have, and they tried to put it back, but there's so much evidence. And I know how much Corey has gone through himself. And it's not, you can't sit there and do this to somebody and think that it's not affecting their life. It's not affecting their day-to-day life, because it is, and it's very sick. So, Corey.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I was just handing it to you.
What they do is, in order to be able to have free reign to slaughter you publicly, they have to first turn you into a caricature or some sort of evil character that justifies their behavior, So that's what you see time and time again in all of these cyberbullying cases.
Yeah, no, I agree consistently. And that's pretty much what we see from these people. They have to create a persona first, a false persona, in order to sell their bullshit, and which also helps them sell, bad documentaries and fake alien mummies from Peru and that kind of thing. So,
and the funny thing is all they have is lip service. They don't have, you don't see them posting any real evidence. And that's what I've been posting. I've been posting actual evidence of their alleged crimes, and all they have is just their mouths. So hopefully one of the roughest things, the last few weeks, aside from all of the conspiracy theories, is to see how quickly everyone's concern about David's death has died off.
Yeah.
He was in this field and community for over 20 years, and he gets 2 weeks, you know. And what about all of the other big names? That's a wake-up call. If you think you're so big, you're so important, but if something happens to you, you get 2 weeks.
Everybody just moves on. Same thing with Nick Pope's passing.
They sure did.
Kind of moved on, and there's some issues that could be discussed about Nick. Nick's death sets an example in some ways, and some of the positions he took. I think Nick could still be with us, which is really sad. But that's a whole discussion. But yeah, it lasts about 2 weeks, and then we're off. It was kind of a shock after shock, like 2 shocks in a row. With we all kind of knew Nick was in trouble, but a lot of us, Corey, didn't know David that well. I mean, I feel he was an interesting person in the sense that I could not see him for 2 years, and then we'd be at a conference, and it was like I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah,
and that's who he was, and we just pick up right where we left off, and a sweet guy, good-hearted guy, and those are the ones that always get bullied and picked on.
Yeah,
and it just really pisses me off that these shitty little people who didn't accomplish 1/10 of what he accomplished in his time on the stage, trying to tear him down and trying to bring him down simply because they're jealous. They're jealous of his success. They're jealous of his ability to connect with people that they don't have, because they're. I could say what I think, but I've already sworn 4 times in this. I better stop. So.
No, I think that's good that you're getting it out, Mikey. That's kind of you, though. That's what I appreciate about you. You don't hold back and you go after him like full swing, so I appreciate it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, what I do want to say is that, David was one of my best friends for the last 12 years. I saw him from the very beginning when he, right after, we started really talking in 2013, right after the 2012 thing. And he was still, at the top of his game, and super happy and about where he was headed. And then I saw the devolution, the devolving that occurred, and the cyber stalking really did affect him. It affected his marriage, and his wife it tore her to pieces, all of the stuff that was being said, and they were blatant lies, and you can't do anything about it, so she was going out of her mind. And then, there were also, David and I made some bad choices about who we brought into our inner circle. I brought in Roger Richards, and he brought in Leon Isaac Kennedy, who, was a famous producer and star from like the 70s, and he became a minister. And he actually performed the wedding for David and Beth. And within a year, he was really trying to groom and coach them how to be famous and all of that. And he was trying to convince Beth that she should be the supportive lady in the background. And she wanted to be on center stage, and talk about her work and stuff. She didn't want to just be a quiet little mouse in the background. And Leon had a really 1950s view of women's roles. And once he saw that he couldn't control her, he started trying to break them up, telling David, this, woman's not right for you. So that was, rough on David too. And then when I started having problems with Leon started trying to have David not, work with me, and it was getting between our friendships. So it's so weird. Due to jealousy and people wanting to have control, which is the main thing, is control. People have been trying to split me and David's friendship up from the beginning. At one point, even his wife did, because I think she believed that if David divorced himself from me, that the cyberstalking would cease. And she didn't understand that they saw that as a victory, and they tasted blood, and they just kept going. It encouraged them. So there's the cyberstalking had a large effect. The people that we chose, who were the wrong people in our lives, once things went south, they embezzled from us, they extorted us, David and I both, and it was really bad. But once that occurred, these people that were in our inner circle then started contacting the cyberstalkers and directly giving them information, including leaking my deposition.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lot that we were going through. I'm really surprised that our friendship endured as long as it did. But he wasn't diagnosed. There's a lot of speculation with any type of mental disease. He spoke to a counselor even when I first met him. He spoke to a counselor on a regular basis because of some traumas that he had gone through. But he did not start exhibiting real worrisome depression until I think it was 2019 or 2020 when him and Beth split up. And he came down and had it happened. They split up the day before Thanksgiving, and he was a mess. He came and had Thanksgiving dinner with us, and he met my mom, and he was just in horrible shape. And that's the first time I saw a real pivot. And then from there, he just got hit with cyber stalking, and the cyber stalkers were calling the police, false police reports. They were calling the SEC against Davati Aerospace. The IRS only came after him because these people hounded the IRS to investigate him. So there was a lot. He was going through so much. And then in the last months before his death, he was getting hit with wave after wave of financial and other legal issues that I don't think he would want me to talk about publicly. But this was an unfortunate. I think he just snapped.
Yeah. Do you know, Corey, was David, to your knowledge, because like I said, you knew him better than I did. I never saw him on any medication. Was he ever on antidepressants or anything like that? Any psychotropic drugs for his issues?
No.
Ritalin, even nothing.
Nothing.
Like
no, he didn't really like to go to the doctor. He self-diagnosed and treated using his Edgar Case kind of, abilities.
Yeah.
And he was able to stay out of, serious health issues his whole life. But he was not on any mental health medications, at least that he ever shared with me. And we talked about everything, dude. I'm talking everything about his marriage, stuff with Gaia, stuff with friends going back, his friend Jude, he really loves that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it all, and he never mentioned being on any types of medication.
Yeah.
Although that may have in the last number of years, as he was having his demise, that may have changed. I just didn't know.
Right. Right.
Somebody who's his mod said that he was using plant medicine, which is only briefly marijuana. But, people, as a mental health therapist for 7 years, I'm going to tell you, if you have something going on in your environment, it's the first thing you look to. And if something like this is going on, it's going to display some sort of depression symptoms, or things like that. It's going to mimic some of those things and blow it way out of proportion. But day after day, how is it not depressing? But it's, something that's not necessarily chemical. It's in the environment.
I think there's some serious spiritual warfare going on as well. We had people openly using black magic against us, whether, it has psychological or real effects, depending on your beliefs. So we had weird stuff going on in our house, and I talked with David. He had the shadow beings, and I was creeped out by his house. I begged him many times to have it cleared, because he just sat there with his depression and panic were the energies that I got off of him when I would visit him.
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, finish your point. Sorry, finish
your point. It was just that was etched into the environment in his home, because he only left really after his dog passed away. He never really left. His dog would have him get out on hikes and that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's really sad. I was gonna say, the few times I ever worked for Gaia, I knew as soon as I saw that creepy bald freak that runs that company, I knew as soon as I saw that guy, I didn't want to work for them ever. But I was on a couple of shows, did a couple of guest spots, and I think they had me out once to Boulder, and I don't remember, it was probably 2016, 2017, maybe even before that. And they put you, Boulder is a creepy place. I've been to some creepy places, Montauk Point, and Camp, what is it, Hope there, or whatever it is, where they did all the experiments. That's a haunted, creepy, weird place. And I felt like the Boulder campus where they were was the same way. It was very satanic. It was very dark. It was very ugly. They put you up in this creepy, haunted overlook hotel thing where you feel like your soul's going to get stolen if you fall asleep. And it just was a generally very negative place. And I wish he could have gotten out of there. And I don't know his circumstances exactly, but I sure wish he could have gotten out of there, because I think Colorado is a really dark place. Corey, I don't know where you live now. Maybe you're in Colorado. I don't know.
Yeah, we're in Boulder.
And I don't like Boulder. Like, I would not go back there unless you really threw, like, if somebody dropped me $100,000, I might go show up there and do a speech and get out. But I live in Las Vegas. And people say Las Vegas is low vibrational, but David, if I'd even known he was in trouble, we could have brought him out here. And it's not low vibrational. It's not, because everybody who's here is on vacation and having a great time, and it's happy and it's high and it's bright and it's sunny. And I don't know. I just felt like Boulder was not a good place, and I don't want to go back there. And Corey, for your own good, I wish you'd find someplace else to live, because I just don't like that place at all.
Yeah, we are actually waiting to. We've been negotiating for a while. We have, all of my information I turned into an intellectual property, and now we're creating a video game company that's going to be based on all of this. And we have a handful of serious investors that we're discussing things with. I just totally blanked out on where I was going with that.
Well, I just was talking about Colorado and Boulder especially. Colorado. I just once I left there after that one shooting I did, or what, episode or what, I don't even remember what it was. I said to myself, I don't want to go back there.
Well, my point was, I see it. I remember now. Sorry. I haven't been getting a whole lot of sleep lately.
Understandable. Yeah.
If the investment comes through and we create this new larger company, we are not doing it here. We are. The first thing I'm going to do is find a way to move my family out of here. I mean, there's so much corruption and apathy in law enforcement and in the civil
Well, you know,
courts.
Nevada is a good state, and you don't have to live in Vegas if you don't want to. You can go to Reno, you can go to some place like that. Nevada has a lot of positives, and it just and there's the Nevada corridor, the triangle, where airplanes occasionally disappear, but other than that, we're pretty good here. So, I mean, I don't know. I just I wouldn't want to be there, and I feel like the environment was just not conducive to being happy and healthy and mental health. That's probably true.
It's actually been really good for my family, the nature. It's the people are quite a bit different as well. We're just we're looking for a change. We have had a lot, since we moved here. It was like 2018 or something like that. There's just been so much that's happened here. And now when we drive in the mountains the last few days, we can only think of David, and we just have a lot of negative things that have happened here, and zero protection from the state. So we're ready to boogie out of here.
Yeah. Well, just from my perspective, it just, I just feel like the whole environment he was in was just not good for him. And it sounds like he was isolated up on a hill with his house, which is not good either. And what happened to his most, I don't know. I don't want to get into his personal life too much, but I thought he had a new wife or somebody more recently, but apparently no, he and Beth broke up a long time ago now.
Yeah, it was like 2020, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly. And no, I mean, he didn't mention anyone that he was dating. I don't think he had the capacity to date anyone because he was so stressed. And I mean, when I would talk with him on the phone, he talked so fast. He sounded so panicky. All he ever talked about were the lawsuits and the cyber stalkers and, crazy stuff going on with Stavati and other things going on that, were also catalysts. But all of the things that happened all just kind of trickle back to the root cause of the cyber stalkers. And the thing is, people try to say that I manipulated David into leaving Gaia. That's not the case. Jay Widener had made our lives just very, very much hell. And they're if you really look at his resignation letter, everything he says there was the truth. And he recanted on it later because he was being threatened by Gaia with a $10 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
They even tried to pressure him into wearing a wire and setting up a meeting with me and having me incriminate myself. It was,
fucking pricks. That is exactly who that's exactly who those people are. Yeah.
Well, I want to say I worked at Gaia for a while, and the people there, the company itself, I really don't have a problem with. And I really don't want people going after them and bad-mouthing them or canceling their memberships or anything out of protest. It's really just a certain amount of bad actors that unfortunately are at the tippy top of the company.
Yeah.
But the people that work for them, they're very nice people. But the people at the top have been pulling some very messed up stuff. And this has been going on since like 1998 at least. When David and I worked there and we were all starting to have problems, Widener told us straight to our faces, if you screw with Gaia, you will be destroyed. Many people have tried to fight back or screw with us, and all of them have been destroyed. Their reputations, everything, and that freaked David out for a while. And then we were finally able to get Widener removed as producer of Cosmic Disclosure, and they brought on Melissa Tittle, who I loved. I thought she did a great job, but her and David bumped heads, and I was like, but she was there at the end.
Well, Melissa is basically, at least she's a good person, having worked with her and dealt with her and for a long time. She's not a bad human being, unlike the other people you mentioned.
Yeah, and she's a good producer.
Yeah.
Which Jay wasn't. We basically produce the show. You know, it was every
well,
day.
yeah, I mean, he has no talent. He has no talent whatsoever. His documentary films are some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, he just has no talent. So
yeah, I don't know where I was headed, but
well, I think it was a bad situation there. It wasn't getting any better. But I mean, I think the constant harassment. I mean, if what you just said is true, that they basically threatened David, that's basically stalking. That's basically threatening. So you look at the cyber stalking laws, the stalking laws in Colorado, it fits right in with the description.
Everything that Widener threatened would happen to David and I has happened.
Yeah.
So they've done this before. Yurka Raisavi is, the person we were talking about from Gaia. He was named in a 1998 case. I sent the information to Coley, and he was allegedly working with a couple of well-known people in the community, not well-known then, but they were channeling Lucifer and Satan, and they ended up having some sort of struggle over the intellectual property or ownership of it. And then Luciferian gang stalking started occurring against the plaintiff in that case. And, they were threatened that it would continue until, they bowed to the other people's demands. You can find that online very easily. And the way Jay had threatened us, they haven't stopped. It's been going on since, for decades.
Corey, was there anything you wanted me to pull up right away? If you do, just let me know, because I've got most of the documents up here. So.
Oh, well, I guess you can pull up that lawsuit from '89 and maybe scroll through it a little bit. Or
is that the Red Torch one?
No.
That's not that one. Sorry.
It might be in WhatsApp. It was a little video short.
Okay, the video. Why don't you just guys go ahead, and then I will jump back and make sure that I do have that one, because I have a few of them pulled up. I have for videos, but I just want to make sure that it's the correct one. So, yeah, go ahead, and I will double check that.
Sure. So throughout this whole process, David and I have always been trying to settle with Gaia and in the individual parties, and they countersued us with a bunch of BS, and it's all been proven as BS. Laura Eisenhower's deposition, she was very brave and incriminated herself, and other people. And the release of David Wilcock's letter, that Gaia employee movement, information about that it really was employees, all these things that they, try to attack me and blame me for, of course, there's now evidence and testimony that I wasn't involved. So their case is kind of, falling apart. We were pushed into a point of bankruptcy. David was too. We're hoping that everything goes through with these new investors to where we have a pivot and, we're able to, stand against these people squarely on our feet again.
It just, look, anybody who has to defend themselves by going to court and using money to defeat you, it's because they don't have an argument. If you have an argument, you can just fight in the court of public opinion. If you don't have an argument, if you don't have a case, then you sue. It shows your weakness to do that. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It just feels like this is worth a police investigation, because there appears to be, and to my mind, stalking going on with you and with David, and that it may have contributed somehow to this whole thing. We just don't know.
It definitely contributed. And, David and I, in 2018, we went to the Broomfield, Colorado police with a stack of evidence this big. David spent a lot of time laying it out. The police officer who opened the case laughed in our faces, because it was all these satanic people and all of this crazy stuff. Yeah. So he laughed in our faces. It was assigned to a detective. We sent the detective more things. And then within like 2 days, not enough time to even look at the information, the DA comes back and says there's not enough evidence. They don't want to touch it. And we had the Boulder sheriffs come out. And there is nothing but apathy from the criminal justice system here. I've spoken to several owners of businesses here in Boulder and also in Broomfield, and they all have stories of someone committing a felony against them. They call the authorities, and either the police or deputies come out, and the deputies know that the DA will not prosecute it. So they do this sick, sad dance with the victim and, leaving the victim feeling even more victimized. And we're going to do a true crime show on all of this. And we're going to have some of the local Boulder people that have suffered similar issues that the police have come out and tried to take care of it, but district attorneys and detectives just won't touch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's the only way to get any response is to create bad publicity for them, because if they won't act, I mean, I understand, cops don't want to get involved with personal spats, or there are people with a lot of money who are making it worth the cops' while not to investigate. There's those possibilities. There's all these things happen in real life. And, they should, however, they swear an oath. They swear an oath to uphold the law. And there's just too many loopholes in that right now. So
yeah, I'm gonna be a thorn in their sides. We're going to the FBI. We have some other people, helping out with that effort. There are several. One out of the several mutual friends that he had and I had that were celebrities that also know Governor Polis. We're reaching out to them that they will contact Governor Polis and set up some sort of call or information sharing session with him before he's out of office, hopefully to get things moving. We're going to get some of these Boulder people together that have had the same problem as me and start showing up to city council, and we're going to be a pain in their ass. Yeah. And our television show is going to have some of these stars that were David's friends in it, and it's going to be a big television show, and it's going to be a true crime reality TV show talking about the craziness of disclosure in general, but we're really going to focus now on what led to David's death. And Broomfield police and DA are going to have a whole pot of shit to eat in this. And so far, Boulder is, making a place at the table as well.
Yeah, and it's a shame you can't get them to simply do their jobs and do a proper investigation. So
yeah, it's crazy.
It's these people are scum, and it would be nice to see them get their just desserts. And I think the power that you have is what you produce, documentary you put out, and everybody needs to know. Set the record straight. Everybody needs to know what really happened and what's really fair. So,
yeah, and also to be fair to the sheriff's department and the detectives, although it's almost impossible for me to speak with them personally, they've assured me that they are investigating everything that contributed to David's death, which means they're looking for a way out. Like, it was just a financial stuff. We don't have to mess with the cyberstalking stuff. So I really, really need people in the audience to help us with email campaigns, calling them, and also on Twitter or X, we have a campaign going, tag all of these different groups. We're trying to get Entertainment Tonight, TMZ, Denver News, Boulder News, all interested in covering this. We want to make this too big for Boulder to sweep under the rug.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then was that, real quick, that video, was that the one that had the NJ attorney? Or
Which video?
The one that you were wanting me to grab off of WhatsApp app, because those are the only ones I have. I looked.
Okay, it wasn't a short.
No, I have they're all the ones that I have for videos are all YouTube videos. And this one is from the NJ attorney.
Oh no, a different one. Okay. Well,
Okay.
maybe all right. Well, that's fine. People can find it if they go to my YouTube channel under shorts. It has the documentation there, and then they can search it and find it online as well.
All right. And Debbie's in chat too. Debbie, if you want to throw a link in there, we can get that up too. She has access to that. That would be awesome too. So, but yeah, if you want me to pull up any of the other media, just let me know. Otherwise,
Sure.
be more than happy to do that. But I know this has been really hard on you, Corey. And like you said, everything is, if you can help with email campaigns, if you can help with any of that, what's the best way or case numbers? Have you filed, I know other people have filed cases. They're a little bit nervous about stepping forward, but I think the more people who do, the more, more people will keep coming forward with that information. Is there a specific place? I mean, I'm trying to keep what I have together, but is there something, that they can send it to, or how would you like that information to be dispersed?
Yeah, there are a couple of email addresses we've put out online for the Boulder Sheriff, the Boulder District Attorney, and we really want to tag the governor and local representatives, but the media. We really need to get the media's attention on this.
And I'll go ahead and I will drop that information into chat right now, so people have that for the majority of it. And we'll keep posting that on X, keep looking, and I'll make sure it gets on Facebook and other platforms as well.
Yeah, but I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just now really able to talk about this. The opportunity to set a lot of things straight. There's so much crap out there. Going on, and then the people that actually cyber stalked him to death are out there spinning their whole other new narrative. So,
they're trying to deflect attention from themselves, because it's obvious that cyber stalking contributed to his death, and who was doing that? Well, the same people who are trying to blame you, and that's the thing is. As soon as I saw who it was that was going after you, I'm like, this is bullshit, because these people are just not trustworthy. So
and all they have is their mouth. We endured so much working under Widener. All the different people that came on our show witnessed him blowing up and acting crazy. It was, and then there was the whole thing that there's the whole battle. David and I resonate more Christian. I'm a Christian, and he, resonated that way, more of a mystic Christian type of, I guess, labels. And over there, they were very much Luciferian kind of, and they would try to apostatize David. Yurka did multiple times. He tried to convince me that I was channeling Lucifer, the Blue Avians, when I was receiving all of that information. And I didn't react well because I have a Christian background. And, I was told that that's a slave religion, and I was ignorant and all of this other stuff. And then after that, things were weird, so there, that kind of started things rolling in the wrong direction.
And not to mention all the people that got on board with that. I know that it's just unbelievable how they took it and they ran, people in the Twitter community, and how much you wouldn't think that they would have as much pull, but they are relentless. They are coordinated somehow, and they do not stop. It just does not end. It's ongoing, and it is miserable when you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah. Well, at least the detectives are looking at what's going on right now. They're looking at what's happening live. And these guys haven't slowed down. So at least that will give them some sort of predicate to go and look historically at what these people have posted. And some of them have been deleting things from the past, but since 2017, we automatically have a database backing up all their videos, all their comments on everywhere, even their ID, their accounts, ghost accounts that they don't think we know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can delete what they want. If the feds or the police finally do investigate, we've got a treasure trove for them.
Yeah.
Would you like me to pull a few of those up?
Yeah.
Sure.
Right here, I think you can see the whole. It really is sick, but some of the stuff, and we have some videos too. I just want to pop up a disclaimer really quick. It's just under the copyright disclaimer under Section 52 of the Copyright Act of 1957. So just so we are fair game here. And yeah, let me pull up a few of these. Is there a video that you'd like to start with, or just kind of pull a few of them up here, and so people can kind of get a real taste of what the heck is going on? Go ahead and I'll pull this one up.
Hey, James, it's good to see you in here. Yeah, there's this guy who said he blew up and acted crazy because he could tell you were making things up, and he was an honest man. The guy who tried to sell the fake Peruvian mutilated human corpses to the world and tried to tell you Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landings. That's your standard for honesty, boy, bro. You need fucking therapy, pal. Because give me a break.
Yeah, Widener's he's a monster. He's just literally, he went crazy. He finally got fired from Gaia, and after that, he turned into Captain Ahab, and David and I were the whale. And he totally lost his mind. He's all in on trying to destroy us, and he doesn't miss his mind at all. He's just lost it.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Two of the biggest bullshit stories of the last 10 years, just debunked over and over. James, it's James Gillian. It's good to see you in here.
Yeah, James is absolutely fabulous. Did you want to go into this one first, or do you want me to go back to the Cliff one, or?
Well, I really have no order or whatever. We can just show a little.
We'll just start this way. Yeah. Here we go.
Congratulations to Corey Goode. I almost had you there, right? We almost had you there. Me, Dark Journalist, Bill Ryan, Richard Dolan, Cliff High. We almost, Walter Bosley. We almost had you nailed to the fucking wall. But thanks to the works of Unirock, I guess you've got it now. We'll get you next time. You fucking douchebag deluxe. You and your fucking girl.
I almost had you there, right? We almost had you there.
Excuse me, Corey Goode, you dumb piece of shit. This is how ignorant you are. You know, you should be scared of me. Start practicing shitting, because prison is the next place that you're going to be.
For those of you that don't know, and many of you don't, Joe from the Carolinas had a live streamed hit piece done against him literally a day or two before he was doxxed. This happened while he was interviewing Teresa Yaneros. I would love to show you this video, but I can't. It was privated by, take a guess, CW Chanter. In this video, which many of you remember and luckily was discussed on Reddit, CW attacked Joe, called him names, yelled at him, flipped out, and it's reported that Groovy Bean attempted to calm him down until Joe showed up.
Did you want me to go any further into that one?
No, that's fine. You can show the Cliff High one next.
Okay. Let's go into that. That's a real special one. I just sometimes when you think you've seen it all, and then you just haven't seen it all.
If you're operating under an alias, you're full of shit automatically. Okay, yeah. You're a fucking phony. You're full of shit, and that's just the bottom line. So, it's like people who have Twitter accounts, members since 2009. You know what that means? That means you never said anything that offended or upset the establishment. So, these two guys, Cliff High. Oh my God,
you're gonna like this one, Mike.
I'm a paranoid schizophrenic, and I know the limits of my paranoia, and I know how my mind operates. And I was quite certain that I was receiving nonverbal threats in the presence of these two individuals.
That in August of 2015, we brought out Cosmic Disclosure with Corey Goode, which introduced the Blue Chicken Cult, which you got credit for, by the way, in Corey's post last night.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
As a member of the Dark Alliance.
And so I stated in a video in which I was in my motorhome that I've invented this name for the Blue Avians, and I'm calling them the Blue Chicken Cult from this point on. I told them on that day that I owned their ass because I invented this term that was going to make them the butt of all the jokes. I should have actually probably used gang as opposed to cult. I debated, but at the time, cult had a higher level of pejorative than okay. But now, because of the rise of MS-13 and the language around them and other gangs, and the current thing against gang stalking, it probably would have been better to use that term. Now, I can, as a cancer patient, say any fucking thing I want, and they can't really do anything about it, and they're going to feel bad if they do take down a video, right? So I've got to be less careful than most people.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, Cliff, I don't give a shit that you're a cancer patient, and I do know you're a schizophrenic, and you've never been right about a single fucking prediction you've ever made in your whole fucking life, ever, and you make them about 3 times a week, and they're always wrong, and I don't feel bad whatsoever about calling you out as the shithead that you are. So let me just get that out. Cliff High, what a fucking clown. Good God. The thing is, he attacks everybody. You know who he attacks? He attacks everybody who is more popular than him and more well-known than him, which is just about everybody in the community. And he just does it for the same reason Widener does it, out of pure jealousy, because they don't have any fucking talent. Sorry.
But can you imagine being that bold and putting that out there and then just, no worry. They have no worry in the world. Like, nobody's going to see that. But that should tell you what kind of mentality of some of these people you're dealing with. They don't think that's alarming?
He admits that he's nuts. And then he puts this stuff out. That's like admitting that you made up the fake alien mummies from Peru and that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing and then claiming you have credibility. That's just, Good luck.
Yeah. The Red Torch report really dives into a lot of, Widener's involvement in instigating and coordinating the cyberstalking groups. He even allegedly transferred money to different people or offered to. And there's a long history of this going back to 1998. It's not really hard to see what has been going on. It's just, the civil courts keep dismissing our cases because they treat us like a nuisance, the UFO stuff, the cyber stalking, we have better things to deal with, and them dismissing cases and not enforcing restraining orders here in Colorado has emboldened these people. The police won't do anything. I mean, the one time we got the sheriff to go out to Widener's house, for tampering with federal witnesses, he sent us an email threatening that if we didn't drop the lawsuits against him and Gaia, that he was going to release all this damaging information. The sheriff went and knocked on his door for about 5 or 10 minutes and he wouldn't come to the door. So the sheriff left and of course they wouldn't go back out. So there's just a lot of, apathy here in the civil and criminal justice system that's really contributing to this. We really are going to do our best to pressure them into doing a real investigation, but the moves we're taking towards approaching the FBI, I think, might end up being more fruitful.
And is there any part of this you wanted me to show, or can I drop the link too in the chat for people who want to go through it?
Drop the link in the chat. There are some redactions that need to be made in that. People's personal information may pop up, even though they're the evil actors. I don't want to be accused of doxing them, and I don't want to be accused of what they're doing.
Right. I don't blame you either. That's definitely true. But yeah, I did go ahead and I put that into the comment section. So if you guys it's not letting for some reason. Let me see if I can do it again, but I'll make sure that gets out.
I'm encouraging David's family and others to look at civil suits against several parties here in Colorado and elsewhere that contributed to David's death. And there's possibly even a lawsuit against Broomfield or whatever. I'm just in, I know they're going through a lot of grief right now, but I'm definitely encouraging them to look into that when they are able.
Absolutely. Then did you want me to go ahead and pull up the we have another real winner for, let's see if I have it. The one with Steve and his crew. It's just going to take me a second.
Yeah, you can show that. I just don't know if they're going to try to get you pulled down for copyright stuff and all of that.
Why don't I just drop the link and then people can watch it for themselves in chat? Yeah. That would be probably the best idea. So I would go ahead and do that. I encourage you to go and see just what kind of people and what their mentality is behind this, because it's insane when you start to go through it.
You could show the copyright statement and then show their video right after. So it's like, you could do that too. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know who most of these people are. I've never heard of them before. Some Kylo Ren looking guy. I heard about this guy. Oh, he's gonna go after you next, and I'm like, who is this fucking person? And so what? It's like,
Stephen Cambion. You can pull up his real name if you don't mind.
Absolutely, no problem. I would love to do that.
People feel so bold being anonymous. That's why we want their real names out.
Let me take everything down here. And two, I want to say that we not only have that, Steve, but we've got your address, we've got your location, and we're not putting that there right now. But if you do, in fact, go after Corey or anybody else, all that information will be made public. I'm on my end, my promise to you.
Kylo Ren, there he is. Kylo Ren. Hi, Kylo. How's it going? Dick bag.
We've got everything.
All these Luciferian people, it's just like a big coven of nasty trolls.
It is. And they don't want, they're not even operating under their own names. They're not operating under any of that. They're hiding behind themselves.
That dark journalist guy called me up one time or messaged me or something 5-6 years ago. Oh, I really want to have you on the show. I think, Corey, if I remember, he wanted me to come on and trash you, right? I don't remember exactly. But I said, great. I'd be happy to come on your show and talk about anything on one condition. Tell me your real name. Click. Never heard from him again.
And we have that.
It shows you who they are.
We had the dark journalist. We found all of these email addresses associated with the U.S. Army and public interactions with the U.S. Army involved with intelligence and all these other things. Connections with him and people from CIFA, which are the people like Lou Elizondo and a lot of these people who used to discredit us and who are now out there talking about, UFO, credible UFO information. They were the people that discredited all of us in the community. It's just the craziest freaking thing. Like it sounds like a bad movie.
How does that's not his real name, because I asked him his real name and I never.
Oh, I have it up on the screen. That's Daniel. Yeah.
I don't think that could. I don't think that's his real
Yeah,
name, but
there's a lot. Citizen sleuths should look into a lot of these people and really find out who they are and what their backgrounds are. Daniel List, somebody professionally, if not the government itself, scrubbed a lot of stuff about his background, but there's other ways of finding it. One of our David and I's good friends was a retired NATO general, Spanish NATO general, who has all these connections through the Five Eyes. And, he was, trying to help us gather information there for a while. But I don't know. It's like, a really crazy bad movie. The whole plot, that's the way it's unfolded in all of this.
It really is. It really is. When you get down to it, it's so sick and it's so twisted. Somebody came forward, then they're so proud of themselves. I don't know. You must not have children. You must not have family that you're worried about yourselves. A girl that was in, and she just tried popping in here before, like I didn't know. She infiltrated it, and then she was very proud when she was caught. And I'm like, you've been sitting in here for months listening and contributing. Like, I don't know what your point is, but I thank you for your contributions while you were here.
Well, look, there are people who are important in this movement, and there are people who are important in general, and there are people who are not. And the people who are not really resent the people who are. And that's what this is all about. That's what the attacks on David have been. That's what the attacks on Corey have been. Here's the thing. I hear a lot of stuff about Corey and his information. And I've heard it. I've seen you speak at Dimensions of Disclosure, which was a great conference. I've seen you speak. And I think you have a right to say anything that you want to say about your own personal experiences and your own personal story. Why does that offend anybody? It only offends people because he's successful, because he gets attention. And that's what pisses them off, because they are not successful and they don't get attention. And the reason why you guys don't, real quickly, the reason why you guys don't, Jay, is because you have no talent. That's why.
Really, the root of this went back to Cosmic Disclosure added about $150 million to their market cap over a few years period. You can easily look at the history of when we came out in, I think, June or July of 2015, and then we left about the same time in 2018, and that's when it goes up and then it crashes down.
Yeah. And
they wanted to control my intellectual property and bring on all of these fake LARPs and turn it into just a big joke. And we fought back, and they ended up firing me and bringing people on anyway. And then Jay and Yurka, I believe, instigated the cyberstalking campaign to destroy us while they were also trying to take our intellectual property.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but that's your side of the story. And let me just put it this way. I trust you a lot more than I trust any of the people saying bad things about you, because, from what I've experienced of you personally, you have a lot higher character than they do. And that's being demonstrated in this whole thing. Why couldn't they just let David lie? Why not just let him rest in peace? That's one of my streams recently was just let the guy rest in peace. But no, I think they felt exposed, and so they had to try to spin it and make somebody else the enemy. And that's when I stepped in, because it's just wrong.
I appreciate it. You're one of the few people who has stepped in and stood up for David. It's been amazing how many people publicly are afraid to do so because they don't want to start becoming the center of the attacks.
Yeah, well, what did David ever do to anybody to deserve the way he got? What did he ever do except tell his story? That's all he ever did.
Nothing. And he angered certain people is what he did. That resignation letter coming out caused a major catastrophic shift in both his and my timeline. And, the people that we had brought into our inner circle that we trusted leaked it to Patty Greer, and Patty, leaked it through Laura. We were horrified when it happened. I was in Hawaii on a vacation with my family. It totally destroyed my vacation. I was just a wreck when that came out. And, it was horrible, but that is really the genesis of, there are certain people who will not rest until David and I are either completely destroyed or in the ground.
Yeah. Well, they're 1 for 2.
They wouldn't let him live. They would not let him live in peace. That's what I said. That you, every time he put something or he was going to do something, he hit the wall of trolls, and it was nasty. And some of the things that were done to him were just unthinkable.
Anyone who worked with us or supported us in any way, showed up on our television network, they were attacked by these same people until they withdrew. And the people would send me messages, I'm sorry, I can't be destroyed, by people just because I'm working with you. And that's how they isolated us to where we couldn't make money. They had us blacklisted from all of the big events. The big events were getting death threats. Don't have Corey there, or there's going to be a bomb threat. Or it was just an extremely massive coordinated thing that happened. It wasn't something that just naturally, started on social media.
Well, the thing is, the way to, for me, the way to get past all that is to not give a shit about the big events. I mean, I very quickly figured out who they were being run by, Robert Quicksilver, or I don't know, Danny DeVito, whatever the fuck his real name is. Again, why are there so many people in this business that have fake identities? I don't understand.
I don't know.
But and the guy running Contact, it's like, I don't need them. I don't give a shit about them. I was just on TV in front of millions of people less than a week ago. Hi guys, how's it going? Fuck you. I mean, it's so it's like that's the problem, Corey, is that they had leverage over you guys because you were sort of dependent on that for your income, and that's how they get their claws into you. And it just you can't. For me, I guess I'm lucky that I'm not dependent on any of these sources. I can just do what I want and say what I want and try to tell the truth as I understand it. So I'm lucky, but that's how they do it. And the fact that they want to control the narrative and what you say shows you their character. Shows you their character.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. And I remember James coming and really that's when I got to know Corey. And I have to say, what I've seen from him in the last 8 months has been nothing but he's upheld his integrity. He does what he says. He says what he does. He went in and he jumped on this without even thinking about it. He hit this David Wilcock thing head on, which I was just really impressed by, against everything else that had been done to you, Corey, and your family. Thank you for all and stepping up like that, because I despite of who you were and you being David's best friend, that was a huge risk that you took right there, and it is greatly appreciated by many.
I appreciate that. There's a lot, when you have a friend that does this to themselves, you always, what could I have done more? The last 6 months, David had been isolating himself more and more, and not really, we spoke 2 or 3 times a week. And then it just kind of stopped. And then I spoke to him a couple of days before my birthday, and I didn't have a chance to contact him on his birthday. Me and my family were sick the whole month of March. And then April, I ended up having a back injury, and I was trying to get ready for the conference. And then I found out a week before the conference about David. And, you just wish you could have done more, but both of us have been going through such hell that, it's really hard to empathetically read where your friend is when you're going through, the same amount of trauma,
Well, and when you talk to somebody that you're involved in this war with, it just reminds you of the war. So you kind of tend to avoid. It's a natural human tendency to avoid that. It's like, I don't want to think about that today. I just want to take my kids to the park, and I understand. Yeah. How often, in the last month or two, did you speak to David? Was he that isolated that he wasn't even talking to you? Or
the last time I talked to him, I'd have to look. It was a few days before my birthday, February 22nd.
Okay, so recently, yeah.
Yeah, and usually we speak a lot more than that. But like I said, my whole family was sick, and so I the last month and a half, I don't know exactly what he was going through. I know that there were certain things lined up that he was worried about going the wrong way, and I think they may have gone the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, so there's this narrative that the shitheads are trying to push, that he hated you and you guys never spoke after the lawsuit thing, and
No.
you guys weren't friends and you didn't give a shit. He wanted just to get away from you. Is that true?
I mean, I have my chat history and emails to show. I can show on my telephone all the different times that we've spoken.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I will say that the last probably 6 months, he had a lot of people, I think an ex-girlfriend and a couple other people that were sending him all the stuff that the stalkers were saying about me.
Yeah.
And, telling him, maybe you need to get away from Corey, that kind of thing. Of course, we always had that. Everyone, they thought it would protect David, but it didn't.
Yeah.
I was actually, David, very sensitive guy. I'm cut from a different cloth. I was raised rough, dude. I mean, my nickname was Kickin' Ass Corey. I was kicked out of junior highs and high schools for fighting. I am a fighter, and I just don't know how to give up. I bite onto something, I don't give up. And so that was a contention between David and I, because David was, this community, when something bad happens, they're like, oh, that's trauma. I have a lesson to learn. Let's move on. And they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. They find some higher lesson and move on. And they don't understand that the wolves know that about this community. And they know you're all sheep. And they know the minute they bite your ass, you're just going to run in the other direction. So they're going to have a grand old time until some people grow a backbone.
Yeah. That's the thing is, like I said, he was just a sweet, sensitive guy every time I was around him. And the world chews men like that up and spits them out. And that's what some of these people did to David. And the thing is, Corey, is I sit there and I think to myself, this is on one of my other streams, I think you saw, who does that? Who picks on the vulnerable guy like that? That's not harming anyone. I mean, David, whatever his ideas are, he's harmless. He was harmless. He wasn't harming anybody with anything he was saying or doing or talking about. So it's like picking on the retarded kid at school, picking on the disabled kid in a wheelchair at school. I mean, what kind of a sick, twisted fuck does stuff like that? And these people did. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is. I hope that the community, some of the sleuth start to dig into who these people are, expose them, start policing yourselves. The community has to have a backbone. Community also has to have a backbone against the mentally ill people that are in this community. There's a large number of crazy people.
Yes.
And sit back and let them cause all of these problems with no ramifications. You're part of the problem too, so there's oh my God, this true crime show, I'm going to expose so much about the disclosure movement and the esoteric. I'm going to show all the beautiful, loving people, but those are the people that need to pay attention to this. And all the new people coming into these movements, there's a very dangerous side. There are gurus who are sexually exploiting women and financially exploiting people. I know a couple of people directly involved. There are all of these secret space program conferences that go on, people that throw them. There's allegedly, I'm hearing from all these women, they're allegedly being sexually exploited and given herpes and all, and then scared to death when they try to complain about it. It's like a little criminal syndicate running, and it is free. The more that I learn, and all these different individuals, like all the big names you can think of, and you're probably the same way, Mike. There's a public persona of all of these people. Yeah. And then when you're at New Living Expo and you're having drinks at the bar, the real them comes out. Yeah. And it's like, holy crap,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I'm here on the show with you, because every experience like that I've ever had with you has been great. You've been sweet, friendly, cool. Those other people, who are on the other side haven't. So I see the real them and I see the real you. And, you can be different. My public persona is different than who I really am, and I cultivate that. I cultivate that deliberately, but it's just, it's like it's not that much different, right? It's still me. It's just a different aspect.
You seem pretty much the same, to be honest. And I did want to say something about David. David has this big, grandiose, this personality. Everyone said, he had this huge ego kind of thing, just his stage persona. Very few people got to see behind that persona, real David. Very few. Even people that think they're his friends, like you, some of us that we really got to know him in the background. He was a very humble guy, self-deprecating, fun guy.
Yeah. And again, just quiet and sweet, and a gentle soul who just got trampled on by people who wanted to take from him what he had created.
Yeah, and he was susceptible. He really, when we first met, we spoke about, I think when he was around 11, he was a little overweight, and he was really bullied. They called him fat. They called him gay. I mean, that's why, oh my gosh, he was so paranoid about being called gay. It was because he was hounded and called that in school.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't realize. I have so many funny stories with David. One time in Boulder, when we were going to shoot Cosmic Disclosure, we were at the Boulderado, and I was at the restaurant before he came down, and I told the person, I said, "Oh, I'm meeting my partner here. I'm thinking business partner, old school, and we're going to have dinner." And David comes and sits at the table, and we're talking, and this guy was openly gay, the waiter, and he came to the table, leaned his hips against the table, and was acting completely different than he would normally, obviously, and was like, "Would you guys like the gay cowboy, or no, the something cowboy oysters?" And David was like, why would we share oysters? And the guy said something about me being his partner, and David's face turned red. There was just so many funny stories with him and things like that. It was,
and I remember, I think it was New Living Expo in San Francisco, and one time him and Gail Thackeray and George Norrie was there, and we spent hours and hours just talking, and David was telling me about his growing up and his past life, and he'd had some issues with substance abuse, and I don't drink, and what excuse me, he was just a genuine, sweet, likable guy, and that's it. That's all there was to it.
Yeah, I hope people remember him in that way, and not how the cyber stalkers have framed him in recent years.
I do too. And I listened. I went back and I was listening to some of the TikToks that he had, and he talks about it all the time and the things that were done to him all the time. I mean, if I challenge anybody to go and even go that far. Plus, his mods are in here, and they have sat every Sunday and they have listened every Sunday. If you can't tell me, like, in going through that something major wasn't going on, just as an outsider, I'm going to say that's BS, because that is definitely not the case. It would hurt just to go through and see that.
In all this, I would like to hear more from his friend Jude, who knew him pretty well. I'd like to hear more from these people.
Yes.
I've had a couple of the old girlfriends contact me about stuff. And the thing is, in a relationship, though, there's always two sides to every story, right? There's a whole dossier out there probably of, women who didn't get what they wanted from me. And I'm sorry, I'm single. I don't want to marry you. That has happened. And it's like, when in a relationship, there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And so, I don't see what good that does to go down those roads.
No. And I heard his side of the story in all of those cases too. And it's just, typical for this community. There's a lot of just mental instability and people who have really easy to hurt feelings, and they have a lot of ideas about what they think they deserve. And, everyone, it's just human Just
Yeah,
stuff.
well, I mean, look, one of the girlfriends, David, one time told me a bunch of stories about her, and then she told me a bunch of stories about him, and they both sounded like completely different people.
Yeah.
Then, so it's just a perception. It's like a relationship, men and women, Coley, this, they see it differently, they experience it differently, and it's probably not for, I don't know, maybe 20 years later that everybody comes to some sort of complete conclusion and recognizes what really happened. You always, there's always hurt feelings. There's always, everybody always digs their heels in and stuff. And, it's just the way it is. It's people are going to perceive how their relationship ended differently. And that doesn't make either one of them a bad person.
No, it's a dynamic. It's definitely a dynamic. It's not just one person. It's a dynamic between two people. It's the way it is. When two people are, not out for the same, I've heard he said, she said, and it is too. I mean, but there's always two sides. You're right. It doesn't make one right or wrong, but clearly, like, I mean, if this was like an abusive relationship, and let's say the other person were pounding on that person daily, then I would say, okay, now there's a different problem here.
Right. And I mean, look, I think anyone who commits suicide has some mental health issues. There's no question. And yeah, there were times I would see David doing streams and everything would be fine. And then his wife or his girlfriend, and he'd just be like, wow, he'd really snap at her. I saw that, but that doesn't make him a bad person. And we don't know, I've been married, and believe me, people's habits build up on you, and sometimes you just get sick of it and you lose it. So.
And I have to say, I spent a lot of time around them. That wasn't typical between the two of them. They were pretty quiet, when they were alone. He would tell me about pretty massive blowups that they would have with each other, but I never witnessed them. Whenever I was around, she was real calm and he was real calm, and they never seemed to have any issues. The only time I saw her stressed out was when the cyberstalking started and certain people were focusing on her, and she had a really hard time with it because it was new to her. David and I, we've been hit for a while, so it kind of lost its sting, but it was really affecting her. But for the most part, they, I don't think they even really argued and had a lot of problems until all the stressors came in with the cyberstalking and the financial issues.
That's true. How much stress can that put on a relationship? That can put so much stress on a relationship that changes everything. And when people don't realize, like, I was a mental health therapist for 7 years. And when you're going through that, you look through and people think, oh, you have a history of depression. Well, you go through this stuff long enough, it makes you depressed. You feel depressed. You get to a point, you're like, man, all this stuff builds and builds and builds. And it might not take much to, that glass to overflow. It may not, he didn't get a break. He didn't have a reprieve from any of this. It was just ongoing, one after the other. And that wears somebody down. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
We've, Corey's married. I've been married. You know what it's like. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it happens. It happens, but it doesn't really reflect on your character.
No.
Because every couple fights.
This has definitely affected my marriage. We've been married 33 years now, in March. But, in 2016, Stacy and I had a lot of problems and we split up. And then, we got back together during COVID when most people were splitting up. That brought us more together. And I'm just very lucky. She's very strong and stubborn like I am. She's like, yeah, let's keep fighting these bastards, David.
I'll do the cursing here, Corey. You're not very good at it. I'll do it. Yeah, let's fight these bastards. That's how you do.
Pitchforks and torches, we're coming, okay? I'm there, yeah.
And David and Beth just wanted this all to be over. And they, Beth thought that if David stopped working with me, the attacks against him would stop, and they only escalated, sadly.
It does only escalate because these people don't have limitations. I'm convinced they don't eat, sleep, or do anything else. It makes me really uncomfortable, even Corey. Sometimes when I read what they've written about you, and I'm like, what is it's like skin crawling, like obsession. And these are some of the big people and big names, and the ones that you particularly don't like too, Mike. They literally, I mean, it makes my skin crawl. I've seen it even about you, but when he's written it about you, and I'm like, Mike, what is going on here? It's like, it is creepy as all hell to read it from an outsider's perspective. I'm like, man, this is like skin crawling. Like, I don't know. I don't know how other people are reading this and like, man, this is like red flag galore. I mean, this is an obsession. This isn't like something normal that goes on.
And why are they just focused on me and David? They didn't focus on Emery Smith. They didn't focus on other people coming out talking about the secret space program after us. They've only come out against the people who are enemies of Gaia and Jay
or
White.
or the Stephen Greers of the world, who says a lot of, and even Jeremy Corbell, who I like. And Jeremy, I don't want to take pot shots at you here, but some of the videos he puts out are ridiculously obviously just conventional aircraft over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And nobody goes after him. So why is it just you two guys? And what's the connection? And, I'll just say to everybody, figure it out. Figure out what the connection is.
It's not hard.
Oh, the jealousy reigns through. But yeah, it's just...
Yeah, this battle's been going on for so long. I think people really forgot how it began. That David Wilcock's resignation letter sent shockwaves through the community. A lot of people, canceled their memberships at Gaia. It was a huge thing, back in, I believe it was 2018 when this happened. And now, there are a lot of new people that have come in, and I've been quiet about it. David's been quiet about it. And the only people talking about it are the trolls. So they've been building the narrative. We've been trying to work it out through the courts and with police, and have been unsuccessful. So that's why I'm going to say, screw it. We have some big people involved now, especially that want to do this true crime show. So why don't I just expose everything?
I think that's the best way to do it. And I think that you have enough, going for you right now. I just encourage everybody in the community to stop, even if you're being divisive. This is clearly, there's a evil side of this, and it's not as clear cut and dry. I understand. But when it comes to points, you can see the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. And just once more, for the people who just cannot get over the deposition leak, it was a legal decision. If in order for me to claim ownership of my intellectual property, to protect it from Gaia and all of these LARPs that have been out stealing it and creating crazy shit, it can't be some delusion, it has to be a creation. So the people that can't make the connection on how you handle things in a court of law, if they think I'm going to go in there and talk about communicating with 8-foot tall birds, or being abducted by aliens in a court of law, they're fucking crazy. Because these same judges have told me and David from the beginning that since we do paranormal shows, that we've somehow given up our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I, in that situation, was doing what I had to do to lock in the rights and to protect it, and to be able to move forward how I want to, with the information.
You can watch that whole thing. They called the cabal the cable. They're like, and you can see, and I had Sonia Galactic, who's actually in chat, pulled a bunch of the video footage together. And when I watched it and I got a closer look, I was like, you can see clear as day what is happening. And I've been called to court to testify over this stuff too. And believe me, it's a circus. It is a circus. And if they're going to take that to heart, then I don't know what to tell them, because how do you sit there, somebody who's telling you the cabal is, it's just, I don't know. It was a joke. It really was a joke, that part of it. They are unbelievable at moments. I don't know, like the whole thing. When did they start after you and David, Corey? At what point did they come in and really start this whole attack?
I mean, we had some of these people that were just trolls, but they weren't really coordinated, that were hitting us. And it was as soon as David's resignation letter came out, that's when immediately Jay Widener, not allegedly, straight up, we have proof, began coordinating and paying people that were all like these Luciferian trolls. And he helped coordinate them to go against David and I and anyone who worked with us. And the reason I can say that confidently is not only from the evidence, because he freaking looked me and David in the eye and told us that that's exactly what would happen. So we're going to make sure that Widener is remembered for the monster that he is. And we have all the evidence out there, and it's going to be a part of the show. There's nothing he can do about it. He can write his books and do his little crap, like with Darcy Weir, the documentary that no one watched, that no one's really watching except for the trolls. And Darcy Weir might have some stuff to be worried about if the family sues, because they have video of Darcy Weir climbing over David's fence onto his property with a camera and harassing David while he was making that documentary. And there are a few other things. He worked with people that have been a part of this cyber stalking. So, he could be culpable. There's a lot of these people, they just really didn't think things through, and they didn't balance. If you want to come after someone, that's fine, but you need to balance things and give them a chance to give their side of the story, and make sure, look online, do a little due diligence and see if the people you're bringing on to talk against them are involved in some sort of cyber stalking or trolling, campaign. That's very easy to verify. So this whole disclosure, alternative media type of genre, this whole business, it's completely corrupt. All of the namaste, love and light stuff it's BS. It's just the few people, the small percentage of people that really practice that kind of life. Most of the people, it's just a lot of craziness.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, they kicked everybody out of the big conferences that supported President Trump, who, by the way, has given us more UFO disclosure than any president, all the other presidents in history combined. If you supported Trump, you were out. Well, what does that tell you? That's because they're libtards. So that's who they support, and that's fine. But they did it to suppress free speech. And, I mean, fuck these guys. Sorry, did I say that out loud? That's the pattern. So they are, they're not on the good side. They're not on the good side. And for them to sit there and pretend like other people are the bad guy is pretty rich, if you ask me. Pretty rich.
Yeah, I just hope people start doing some sleuthing and due diligence and digging into the past, do their own podcasts. And like I said, contact the media. Don't let this die.
No.
Yeah.
Do not.
I'm really looking forward to your videos and the information, and it'll be very enlightening, because I'm sure you know a lot of things I don't even know, even though I've dealt with these people as well. So I'll be really interested to see what comes out.
Yeah. So, if people are going to pursue me and make it clear that they're only going to be happy with me being destroyed, well, that kind of takes all the guardrails off for me. So I'm going to, a lot of this information I was saving for court, we're just going to start putting it out there, and it's going to be a part of this, this true crime show. And we're just, we'll go to the court of public opinion, the place where they've been fighting so hard.
When can we expect this to come out, Corey?
We've got a new TV series coming out in, I think, September, called Contacted. It's about a lot of different people who have been contacted by this non-human intelligence, and how we all think it's something different, even though it's using the same way, same mechanisms to appear to us and interact with us. It's going to be an interesting series, and that comes out in, I think, September. And then we don't begin shooting Alien Mania most likely until the spring. So it won't come out until probably late summer or fall of next year.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing it. It needs to be done. And it's a great way to get it out there in a way that, people can watch and captivates their interest at the same time, because it's a lot of stuff. It really is a lot of stuff to go through. But you can start laying out your truth, and that's amazing. I really want that for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then is there anything else that you wanted me to pull up or that you wanted to cover today while we had everybody here?
Not that I can think of, other than I want to ask, please, I know a lot of you people are pacifists. You just dodge any type of controversy like it's hot lava. But if David Wilcock, if his work has meant anything to you, please use whatever your skills, sleuth, find out who these people are, expose them, contact the police department, contact the media. We're putting the information out. There's something that you can go and sign as well that has the information.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'm going to drop that all into chat right now. So it's going to come through, but they'll be able to have that.
So, 2 weeks and everyone is already kind of moving on. Please, this is just going to happen to someone else you love. And they'll be forgotten in 2 weeks, and all of their work forgotten and destroyed. If you really do care about this community and the work that David's done, push past your discomfort and start reaching out to Boulder authorities, to the media, and calling these people out and exposing them for their real names and and what they've been doing.
Absolutely. And don't sit by. If you see something, you say something, you do something. That's it. That's the bottom of the line. It's no more just sitting by allowing this to happen and watching somebody be attacked, their lives, their families, and everything else.
And look at where we are because of it. Look at what we're doing. We're eulogizing a guy who should still be with us. And had this not happened to him, he would still be with us. He probably could have gotten the care he needed. He probably could have gotten the attention he needed. So, I mean,
let's stop this from ever happening again. Let's stop this from ever happening, and take something terrible that happened with David and do something good and positive with it. Because I think if David, really, if we can change the laws on this and we can stop this and we can do something right by David, let's do it. He deserves that. He's put his heart into all this.
Yeah. And clearly, like Corey says, what we really need is to do something to motivate the laws and the law enforcement officers that already exist into action. When you do something to get them to start investigating that, because that's the only way it's going to stop, is if there's consequences. It's like when you steal a presidential election, the only way that's going to stop is if there are consequences to the people that do it. That's an example just out of, I just made that one up, but that's an example. So
no, I mean, you got to stand by something. It's just it all gets just a little crazy when everything's out there and haywire and running rampant. It can't happen like that. But there are consequences, and if there's no consequences for these actions, they just think that they can continue, and they'll do this, and they do it. It's not just these two. These two have been under it for so long, but this branches. If you think that you're above this, if anybody in the chat thinks, "Hey, it's never going to happen to me," just wait. It will. Try and speak out once and see how lovely of a response you get from them.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
It can happen to you, so you need to be careful about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I put the petition has in there so contact the media. If you don't feel comfortable, we've got in there a template to use, all of the media list, encourage you to tag them. We got the tags all there, and I will be reposting those on X and everywhere else. And I know Corey has been, and Mike will be also. Quickly too, in closing, Corey, did you want to tell everybody where they can find you at? And I guess, in leaving, if you have any words or final words for the people.
Yeah, you can find my information at CoreyGoode.com and SphereBeingAlliance.com, AscensionWorks.tv. We're doing a lot of work there as well. And of course, I'm doing video games and books. But the main thing I just want to leave people with is when COVID happened, people started acting crazy. A lot of people in the community have been frazzled, and they just don't seem to have come back down since the COVID stuff. And all of the online attacks and the infighting in the community has exasperated all of the problems that we already had. We really need to focus on not just only getting justice for David, but also on trying to bring things down a few notches in the community. There are a lot of new whistleblowers coming out. There are a lot of experiencers that are trying to get their information out and competing with the narrative coming out by the government. These people need support. The trolls are going after them, and a lot of these people are real sensitive, like David. Just help defend them. Help protect those in your community who are being cyberstalked and bullied.
Absolutely. And how about you, Mike?
Well, you can find me on just mikebara.com or mikebara.blogspot.com. That's where it redirects to. Mike Bara 333 on Twitter X. That's capital M and a capital B. And then Mike Bara 333 on YouTube. And on Rumble, I'm Real News Live with Mike and Jen, which is the Rumble station is done pretty well, and it's a good way to make some money and doesn't have the censorship problems that YouTube has. So I do lots of different shows, and I got a couple Twitter accounts, and then you can find me on Facebook. And I just don't want to let this intensity die. And if the other side would simply do the right thing and surrender and shut up, this could all stop. But they chose this path. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are. That's well said. And then anything that you would like to leave with the people with until the next time? Or is that kind of, I guess you did that, huh?
Yeah.
Don't mess with Mike. I'm telling you, this is what we love about him. He comes full-fledged, and it's like no filter, and I applaud you for that, as always. You know that. So,
yep. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Coley. I'm sorry, I was just sort of reading a bunch of stuff, but yeah, it's just important to me because David's was like he just didn't deserve the fate that he received.
No, he did not. No, he did not. But yeah, I want to thank both of you for coming on, and we'll definitely keep in touch and keep everybody updated. And we're doing my part. His mods, I believe, will be in on Sunday to talk and tell their story. So we're going to keep continuing on this end and keep pushing that forward.
Are you going to have that Jude guy on? Have you been able to get him to come on?
I will. You know what? I will look. I know Ray Burt's in the chat, so I'll have them get. He's been kind of organizing some of it. So.
Yeah, he was David's best friend at the end, I think. And I'd
like since they were 16.
Yeah, so I'd like to hear from him too. So
yeah, okay, yes, we will reach out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Corey. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I'm talking. That's David's longest friend. They've been friends since they were 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah.
They've been together through a lot of stuff, So I would be really interested to hear more from Jude as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So we will do what we can do on our end. And like I said, we'll just always keep in touch and keep it coordinated. So thank you again, both of you, for coming on. And yeah, good luck. We got to just keep this going, keep it moving forward. So appreciate it and appreciate you, Corey. So for everybody who's watching, I don't know, you saw a little bit about, Steve or whatever. The thing of it is that when your own family is put on the line and you are threatened, or your local police department is contacted about you and they have come after what you love and you care about, we are sending a strong message that this is no longer going to be tolerated. You can put out whichever you want. I have put out my truth. So if you want to know about the repercussions of fighting for COVID on the front lines, you want to know what I have gone through and whatever, you can post away. I'm not ashamed of it at all. But let me tell you, there are repercussions, but I am willing to fight for what is right, and I'm willing to fight for freedom. And with that being said, you can do whatever you want. But I think if you take a long look and you take a step back from all this, you will see just how sick how sick this has become and how sick this community. And it doesn't just end here. They have gone after James Gillian in the chat. There's so many. Everybody has the right to live in peace. It doesn't mean that we can't come together and disagree. That doesn't mean that we can't have a difference in opinions. No. But you think your side is okay to take our names, take our addresses and call, and that you can just sit with nothing? I'm telling you, it's not going to work that way anymore. I'm pushing back and everybody's pushing back because somebody's life was lost. So if I can prevent and somebody else on this team can prevent another life from being lost, we're going to do whatever it takes. So I encourage you to stand down and to go and get help for yourselves, because nobody healthy with a great frame of thinking does this. They don't. It is sick. It is mentally ill. Your obsession. You need a different hobby. You need to go and, get outside, read some books, do something very productive for community, because once your soul, that light is gone, you don't even understand. Like, it's gone. You don't get that back. We don't get time back. We don't get all of these things back to redo. This is it. So when it comes down and your decision, it's your time to make that choice. Hey, this is right and this is wrong. I hope you choose better, and I hope you choose right, because this is so wrong on so many levels, and I've seen it and I've had enough. Like I said, what I heard, and when David, I knew a lot of what was going on. I did not know the extent. I did not know he was going without food. There would have been a coordinated effort. I think he had a lot of pride, but he very much talked about this until the end. And I myself know how I'm getting threats. They're threatening me already in here. And you've threatened to take do you not understand that a life was lost? So if you want to take some backlash that I got from the COVID and going out you go right ahead, because I've already put it all out there, and my audience and the people already know exactly what I did and why I did it. So I don't know why you keep threatening me with the same things. It's all out in the open. It's all out in the open. So you don't have anything left on me. You don't have anything. You've exhausted it. You keep repeating the same things over and over again. That is insanity at its finest. So if you can't find some new material, honestly, move on your way, because I'm not even going to acknowledge you you don't even have that name anymore. This is done. And let me warn you, the authorities are watching you. Let me warn you, the people that we are making sure that there is awareness and there is a spotlight put on this, and it's not going to stop. So I would encourage you to do so. I really would. With that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you that have been here today and been supported. And I encourage you, Corey, whether you like it or not, he is in our community. He is in our community. He's a big part of our community. Mike Bara, he is a big part of our community. These are both people that I've gotten to know very well. And I'm telling you, they're not going anywhere, despite your jealousy, despite your rage, despite your, I don't know what the heck you guys got going on over there. If this is the only dollar you can make off of somebody's misery, you need help. And I encourage you to get help for yourselves, because I'm not going to do it for you, and I'm done dealing with it. So, for those of you that have been in here for the right reasons, I thank you very much for your support. I will be back tomorrow with Jay Austin, and we've got a great guest coming. So up until then, and then I believe that we will be updating for Sunday. I think that his mods definitely should have a voice in all of this. They knew David the best, and they saw a lot of this for what it was. So I'm going to do what I can to keep his memory alive until there is enough. And I think the longer that this goes on and these people start letting down their guards and they think that they're not watching, they are watching. I will guarantee they are watching. But we are going to do whatever it takes to stop this from happening to somebody else. Nobody deserves to live like that. Nobody does. And you can say whatever you want, but you push somebody far enough, you push them right over the edge, and you're responsible for that. And you're going to have accountability in that. Mark my words. So on behalf of SNX Radio, thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. I'm Coley, also known as Coley UFO, and we will be updating soon. Thank you again.
These they ain't lying. UFOs in the night.